President Pac's bilateral summit with visiting Philippine President Benigno Aquino was an extension of her push for sales diplomacy towards the ASEAN region following her Southeast Asia tour last week. During their talks, the Korean president once again highlighted her economic and strategic emphasis on the region, citing the Philippines' remarkable growth in recent years.
BIP라고 할 정도로, 그러니까 베트남, 인도네시아, 그다음에 필리핀이라고 할 정도로 국제사회에서 주목을 받고 있습니다.
In particular, Presidents Pac and Aquino promised to work closely together on defense and signed an MOU for defense cooperation following their talks. Currently, negotiations between the two countries are ongoing on the export of 12 Korean F-A-50 fighter jets worth some $450 million to the Philippines. President Pac also called on the Philippine government to ease regulations on foreign investment and support Korean companies operating there. In response, Aquino vowed to support Korean firms seeking to take part in major infrastructure projects in his country, such as the extension of the Manila Light Rail Transit System and an airport construction project. President Aquino's visit to Korea was the first state visit by a foreign leader during the Pac administration. The two nations share a long history of diplomatic ties dating back to 1949, and based on that, the two leaders agreed to work towards shared growth. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
And on day 4 of the parliamentary audit here in Korea, the country's power authorities were grilled over allegations of corruption and negligence.
Arirang News' political correspondent Kim Hyun-ji reports on how lawmakers particularly focused on the nation's nuclear industry and the response to Japan's nuclear fallout.
The Shingori nuclear reactors 3 and 4 were supposed to be operational by next August or September. But the new start date will now be pushed back by up to a year. Control cables supplied by JS Cable failed to pass quality assurance tests, which were conducted after power authorities received a tip in late April that fake test reports had been used in the reactors. The control cable is a device that sends a signal to the safety system in the event of an accident at the plant. The parts in question will have to be replaced, a process that is expected to take 6 months to 1 year. Reactors 3 and 4 at the Shingori plant have a capacity of 1.4 million kilowatts each. Experts say the postponement will create a more acute power shortage crisis next year compared to the one the country went through this past summer. Power authorities project that disqualification of Shingori control cables will cost the Korean economy some 3 trillion won, or $2.8 billion in damage per year. These new findings took center stage when the Parliamentary Committee for Science and Future Planning met for an audit of power authorities Thursday.
We will be losing 1.4 million kilowatts in each of the Shingori units because they won't be complete. Are you working on countermeasures?
Power authorities are working on them.
The Japanese media reported that 40% of all nuclear power plant parts that Korea imports from Japan do not go through a safety inspection process, not even a check on related documents. Is this true?
There are no safety checks. We at that time didn't have the authority to do a security check on the parts.
The lawmakers also criticized the Nuclear Power Authority's tepid response after Japan announced that tons of radioactive water was leaking from the Fukushima power plant. They demanded that the Nuclear Safety and Security Commission do more to ensure nuclear safety, including conducting its own radioactivity tests on marine products from Japan. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
Finally, the showdown is over in Washington. President Barack Obama signed a bipartisan deal to raise the nation's debt ceiling and ended a 16-day government shutdown just hours before a Thursday deadline. Kim Ji-yeon reports on the deal.
President Obama signed the budget bill into law early on Thursday, effectively ending a fiscal impasse that had brought the U.S. to the brink of what would have been a potentially disastrous debt default. The deal was crafted on Wednesday in the Senate, where it was approved by a vote of 81 to 18, and was then sent over to the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, which passed the deal with 285 votes in favor and 144 against.
Our country came to the brink of a disaster. But in the end, political adversaries set aside their differences and disagreements to prevent that disaster.
The agreement will fund the government until January 15th and extend the country's $16.7 trillion borrowing limit until February 7th. The agreement also leaves President Obama's signature healthcare law virtually intact, representing a major defeat for Republican conservatives in the House, who had wanted to either defund or delay it.
This is far less than many of us had hoped for, frankly, but it's far better than what some had sought. Now it's time for Republicans to unite behind other crucial goals.
The deal also stipulates the creation of a panel comprised of members of the House and Senate to draw up another longer-term budget deal by December 13th, which means that this could be the beginning of another round in a long-running debate over the federal budget. Most importantly for federal workers, the plan also provides compensation for hundreds of thousands of government employees who have been on temporary leave since October 1st. The White House Budget Office said they should expect to return to work on Thursday. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The South Korean government has expressed deep regret over Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's decision to make a ritual offering to a controversial war shrine at the start of the nation's annual autumn festival. Abe skipped a visit to the Yasukuni Shrine, which would have prompted strong condemnations from neighboring countries, but he did send a masakaki tree, which is used in Shinto rituals. Seoul's Foreign Ministry spokesman Cho Tae-young said on Thursday that Abe's offering glorifies Japan's past wartime atrocities and honors the war criminals enshrined there. The Yasukuni Shrine is a key symbol of Japan's imperial past and honors many convicted Class A criminals along with millions of Japanese war dead.
And here's the latest on the Laos plane disaster that killed all 49 passengers, including 3 Koreans. Officials there say they are trying to recover the bodies from the Lao Airlines plane that crashed into the Mekong River near Paksay Airport in southern Laos, largely due to bad weather associated with Tropical Storm Nari. 8 bodies have been recovered so far, none Koreans, and the recovery efforts could take a while because of low visibility due to poor water quality. From a military alliance to a global partnership, marking 60 successful years of the Korea-U.S. alliance, former Korean and U.S. ambassadors gathered here in Seoul today to further cement those ties and discuss regional issues of mutual concern. Han Da-eun was there.
8 former Korean and U.S. ambassadors sat down for a special roundtable event in Seoul on Thursday to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Korea-U.S. alliance. During the rare forum, co-hosted by the Korea Foundation and the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the distinguished panel reflected upon the past few decades of Korea-U.S. relations and exchanged views on pending regional issues. And North Korea, of course, was at the center. The group of senior diplomats gave out various opinions on ways to deal with the North.
And her policy of trust politique, I hope, becomes stronger and stronger as it goes on.
With the help of the United States leadership and with the participation of all the concerned parties, we may be able to make a major step forward toward unification.
Alexander Vershbow, who served as U.S. ambassador to Korea from 2005 to 2008, stressed the importance of China's role in restarting halted multilateral dialogue and bringing about a solution to the North Korea deadlock. When asked about the need of a Korea-U.S. bilateral alliance, even after the North Korean threat is mitigated, all agreed that the two nations' ties go beyond security cooperation.
From the Korean point of view, of course, it is about economic prosperity, about democracy, about human rights.
Although the need to maintain a strong alliance was agreed upon, ambassadors said they hoped the U.S. troops in Korea would gradually have a reduced role on the peninsula because of improved inter-Korean relations.
I hope that eventually we can mutate to a larger naval presence on a rotating basis, and I would hope that the 2nd Infantry Division could gradually be phased out.
The panel discussion was concluded by reaffirming that the Korea and the U.S. have the vitality to move forward for the next 6 decades to come through strong and combined determination. And then, Arirang News.
The KBO playoff series between the Tusan Bears and LG Twins continue with Game 2 in Seoul.
And Stephen Che joins us from the Sports Center to give us the highlights. Stephen.
Hey guys, it seems like all we do is talk baseball, but hey, it's because it's October. Now let's go straight to the tape. It's Lee Jae-woo for Tusan, Radames Liz for LG. Now we go straight to the second. E's in big trouble. He walks 2, then some hits later, including this double by Park Yong-taek. It brings home 2 runs. LG's up 2-0. E's pulled and Bears put in Derek Hankins. Meanwhile, the Twins' Liz doesn't give up a hit until the 5th, and that's the only one he gives up to go along with his 10 Ks for the night as he leaves after 8 innings. And the Twins go on to win this one with a final score of 2-0, tying up the series. And from the field to the back office, the KBO and its 10 clubs have decided against Changwon City's decision to build the NC Dino's new stadium in the city district of Jinhae. The league decided to back NC in rejecting the city's proposal for the stadium site, saying that it's NC that's directly linked to the deal. The Dino said that the location does not fit with its standards and thus would not be a good investment by Changwon. The city is set to use close to $100 million in public funds for the stadium. And we end things with a look at the top matchups in the KBL. We begin with action between the Seoul teams, the Samsung Thunders and the SK Knights at Jamsil. And SK's Aaron Haynes was in it to show why he was last season's MVP. He goes 21-12 for his second double-double of the season, along with his teammate Courtney Sims, who also gets one with his 14-11. The Knights beat the Thunders 83-71. Elsewhere, the ET Land Elephants took on the Goyang Orions at Ilsan, and it came down to the last 5 seconds, but ET Land eked out the win as Ricardo Powell went for 21 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists. ET Land over the Orions 76-73. That does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. Check back at midnight for the latest in the world of sports.
It's been chilly here in the nation over the past few days, with temperatures dipping below average for this time of the year.
All right, let's find out if we'll get a break from the cold weather in time for the weekend by going over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Bo-kyung.
Hey guys, bear with the cold through tomorrow morning because temperatures will rise to average autumn numbers starting tomorrow afternoon. Let's take a look at the satellite map for details. Well, we have clear skies in the central regions due to a high pressure system that is moving east from China. However, clouds are moving in down south, and tomorrow doesn't look to be much different. There is a slight chance of light showers on Jeju Island on Friday, so those of you in Jeju should carry a small umbrella with you just in case. Other than that, the average daytime high around the nation should reach 22 degrees. As it may be a foggy morning in the central regions, please be careful on the roads. Moving on to tomorrow's forecast, Seoul and Daegu drop to 8 degrees in the morning before reaching 21 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, Gwangju and Busan hit 22 and 21 degrees respectively. Moving on to other regions, Jeju starts off the morning at 15 degrees with a high of 20. Meanwhile, Dokdo and Mount Kumgang peak at 17 and 11 degrees respectively. That's all for now, and I'll be back with more updates after midnight.
Thanks, Bo-kyung. And that's our broadcast on this Thursday night. I'm Yoo Ji-hae in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.
The mini shops being open 24 hours.
The 24-hour service, the places you can get. I like beer, so go and get a beer with my friend in the 24-hour convenience store. That's really good.